Hi, everybody. My name is Sammy Bosacki. I'm one of the assistant directors in the Department of Campus Involvement, and today we're going to talk about recruitment and retention for our student organizations. Okay. So during this presentation today, we are going to talk through recruitment and kind of some different things that you might want to consider as you are looking to build membership in your organization. And we'll also then talk about the other side of that, which is retention, right? How are we going to keep the members in our organizations and make sure they're still getting what they want out of the organization. And then finally, we'll touch a little bit on officer transitions and how you can incorporate these strategies and information into that process as you are having outgoing officers and incoming officers with your organization. So first, there is a company called Fired Up Productions that their whole purpose is talking about recruitment and retention, and they really talk a lot about you can't recruit people you don't know, right? People, another one of their sayings is people join people. They join because they made a connection or they were really interested in the organization, but mostly because they met people and they kept wanting to come back because they felt that connection or really felt like they belonged. And if you don't know people or you're not putting yourself out there, how are you actually going to be able to get those connections started and start building those relationships? So we really wanted to start off there to talk about how you can start to approach situations like this and utilize campus resources to really get out there and get more information about your student organizations to our students and help them get connected. So we wanted to start off by going through a couple of points that are related to recruitment. So first, it's really important that, as officers in our organization, but also members in our organization, know how to tell the story about what you do. So, do you all feel comfortable talking about the organization, what events you put on, what your meetings look like, what it really means to be part of that group that you're a member of, right? And I think sometimes we imagine this telling our story, right, and knowing, yeah, we know about our organization, but it's really important to practice that because a lot of times it's just really easy to think about it or, say, oh, this is what I'm going to say. But when it comes into the moment, sometimes it can be a little bit more challenging than we thought. So I really encourage anytime I'm talking to student leaders to really take some time to practice that. So whether that's maybe at your executive board meeting, to go around and share, if you're in a situation where you're meeting a new student or an interested student, what would you say, right? What would you say about your student organization, about your personal experience? And don't be afraid to share those specific examples because that really matters and that's really going to make a difference. I would also encourage you to talk with your membership about this, right? Because it's not just about one officer recruiting for your whole organization. It really is every single member, because you never know when you're going to run into somebody that you might be able to invite to your next event or your program. And so just take a few minutes. It doesn't take long. It's just kind of starting that conversation and finding a way to intro that experience. Number two, we talk about body language. I know some of this seems like really vague, but it is really important because we want everyone to know that or get more than just what we're saying as we're talking about our student organization. We want to show up in that moment and be listening and be really fully engaged in that conversation, because if you show up to that conversation with somebody that's interested and you're being fully authentic and you're just sharing your experience and really truly being open to that conversation and really inviting more of a dialogue versus just here's a spiel about our organization, you should come join, right? How can you find a way to engage that student about who you are and what you're interested in and what they're interested in, and kind of really start to build a relationship more than just here's our 30-second elevator speech, here's our organization, join us, right? So maybe shifting that a little bit more to a conversation to really help it make it more engaging for sure. Next is really getting to know the people you're talking to. As I was just talking about, it is really important to be able to tell your story, but also, how can you just start to create relationships and build relationships with people so that they want to come, they want to come to that meeting, or they want to talk to you again, or they just feel like, even if they don't want to join, that they had a really positive experience with you, because maybe it's not the right time, but maybe in a few weeks or maybe next semester, they're going to remember that they had a really awesome conversation with you, and maybe they'll reach back out. Or maybe when you invite them again, they're actually going to come this time because they just had such a great time. So I think it's really showing up to that conversation, and from the beginning, really starting to learn about what these students are looking for. If they are talking to you about looking for an organization that has leadership opportunity, or that is really centered around service in the community, you can start to make those connections based on what they're really interested in, right? And you can start showing how they can be part of this organization, and how you need that. If you're looking to, maybe you're an organization that's looking to rebuild, or looking to go maybe in a new direction and need some fresh ideas, you can start having those conversations from the beginning with those students, saying, yeah, you have some really great skills, we're really looking for that, we really want that as part of our organization, and I think that would be a good fit. And and then take it to the next step and invite them. So we'll talk about that more in a second. So meaningful experiences, that's the next one. And really thinking about your organization, and are you creating experiences that people want to be a part of? Whether that's meetings that are really productive, or you're bringing in people from your career field to talk through what they do, and really making those connections so that students really see the value in what you do. Because if you're simply just meeting each week, and maybe you meet for 30 minutes and you just talk about a bunch of stuff, obviously that can be really important in some instances. But if we're creating true meaningful experiences that everyone is a part of, they're going to want to keep coming back, and they're going to want to be engaged members, and they're going to want to join. They're going to tell their friends to join, their roommates, whatever, right? And so it's really about making those meaningful experiences so that everyone feels valued, feels part of the organization, and feels like what they do is making a difference. So following through, right? I don't think we always think about follow through in terms of recruitment, but it is really important. Are you closing that loop, right? We can talk to people all day long, and if we don't actually reach out to them, or tell them about the next thing, or actually follow up on that promise that we made, then nothing really matters. For example, I see a lot of student organizations collecting email addresses at Main Street or at an involvement fair, and then maybe they lose the sheet and then they can't follow up with any of those people that they talk to. Or maybe they just forget to email them after the event, and that's just like a missed opportunity. So it's finding ways. If you say, yes, we're going to email you with our next meeting information, then do it, right? Make sure that we're actually following through, so that they get the information, because the chances are that, that's going to lead to more success in closing that loop, right? And making sure that they actually come, or that they actually sign up, or whatever it is that you kind of were asking or looking for when you were talking to them. Maybe it's also on social media. Like maybe you are, contacting people on Instagram, and you're maybe like sending messages back and forth, or on Facebook, but, making sure that you, as you're maybe starting those conversations, how can you come back to it? And maybe it's not, within a few days, but maybe in a few weeks you come back and you say, hey, we haven't heard from you, just wanted to check in, kind of start up that conversation again and see now if maybe they're ready to take you to the next step, come to your meeting, so on and so forth. Now, this next one is one of my favorites, and I think is one of the most understated pieces of recruitment on a college campus, in any student organization, is truly the power of an invitation. And really what this means is you don't actually have to print a formal invitation. Truly, it's just inviting them and making it obvious that you want them to come, right? So maybe it's you're inviting them to the event that you're hosting. Maybe it's you are, we have an information session and you want them to come, making sure that you are asking for that, making sure you're saying, we'd love you to be there, or, I hope to see you there. And, all these things are really making that connection. Also, again, kind of with the previous point of following up, are we sending them an invitation via email, or, texting them the information to say, you can do it as formally as you're invited to this event, or you can say, hey, the other day we were talking about this. I'd really love you to come. I'll be there. Come meet me. Let's have a good time. So I really, really encourage this because it can go a long way, right? Anybody can send out tons and tons of emails, and we know how busy people can be and how full our inbox can get, right? And so, but following up and making that personal ask and that personal invitation is going to be way more successful. I truly think it's probably the most successful way, because once they come and they have a good time, or they meet you for coffee and you talk about the organization more, they're going to be more excited. They're going to be more interested, because it's really that personal connection, and having that ask. A lot of times, as you can see, people just are never asked. People are maybe interested, or maybe they were kind of just looking and they're not really sure. But if you are out and out asked or invited, or excited about that opportunity, it's just gonna go a lot farther. So I highly recommend that. The next one is really just getting out of your own way, right? I think a lot of times we just get stuck in this is how we do it. This is how we recruit people. We table every semester, and that's how we recruit people. Maybe it's time to try something new. Tabling is really great. I'm not knocking that. I'm just saying that sometimes we just get stuck in these certain ways of doing things, that we aren't looking at all the other opportunities that could be out there. And I think a lot of it is reframing the way we look at recruitment. It's not just this formal process of getting new members to join. It's actually much, much bigger than that. And I think I'll talk a lot more about that later, but it's really more about how are we getting our name out there so people know we exist, so that they can look into it, so that they can find information about who we are and why they want to be part of it, and why they should be part of it, and what matters. So thinking of new things that you've never tried, or just being willing to do something a little differently, because you never know that, who you're going to reach, or what the outcome could be of that experience. So I definitely encourage you to try it. And if you need to brainstorm, or you want to talk through different options, the Department of Campus Involvement is more than happy to do that with you. There's so many different ways, creative ideas that we've seen, and that we can help with, that we really love to explore further if you're interested. And finally, 365 days a year. I really want to stress that recruitment of new members and getting your name out there of your student organization cannot just be the first week of the semester. It can't just be a couple days and you're done. It truly is something you have to do every single day. And I'm not saying you need a table every single day. I'm not saying you need to send out emails every single day. What I'm saying is, as members in our organization, we need to show up every day. And maybe that's just simply being consistent on social media. And so it's not just we're going to post all throughout the year, fall semester, spring semester, but what about the summertime? Are we keeping that information constant so that when people are coming there to look for information, they see updates, and they don't go there and see, oh, they haven't posted in 3 months. They're not going to respond to me. So this is also making sure that your Huskies Connect profile is updated, because if your officers are not correct or the email is incorrect, they're going to be reaching out and they're never going to hear anything. And that's going to discourage them, and they're going to go somewhere else, or they're not going to get involved. And it's really important that we build those connections and that we provide those experiences for students. So keeping those information updated. Again, I'm jumping ahead a little bit here, but all of that comes into how are we showing up every single day. And maybe that's wearing a t-shirt that you have with your organization name to class. Not every day, I'd hope. But how can you make sure that you're wearing that more often, so that it's present, so that people know, oh, cool, I didn't know you were in that organization, or what is that? That acronym is really interesting. Does it stand for something? It can kind of start as those conversation pieces, or maybe even, maybe spark an idea of somebody that used to be in the club and stopped coming and said, oh, cool, I didn't even think that they were still doing things, and you can invite them to come to your next meeting. So definitely keep thinking about it in that, how can we make this a more broad opportunity to just promote what you do, so that it's a lot easier to recruit people throughout the year. And especially if maybe your organization works where maybe there's a busier time. So maybe you have a certain thing that happens at a certain time of year and it's really busy. Then maybe using that other time of the year to focus on ways that you're building those recruitment practices. Maybe your fall has just a lot going on, but maybe your spring kind of slows down a little bit. So how can you use the springtime to really build those strategies in and prepare your members for all of those different outcomes? And maybe it's building contact lists, because sometimes having contact lists of people that are interested can really be helpful, so that you can just reach out to them when you need to and when you have things coming up. So there's lots of strategies within that, but I really would encourage people to continue to think about how we can show up every single day, so that we can help get the information out there and really be present for our students. And here's some other things that are kind of related, but just some other pieces that we thought would be really helpful. I know a lot of times we automatically just go to, let's plan an event to recruit a bunch of people, or we have to have an information session just to recruit people. I would really encourage our student leaders to think outside of that. I think events and info sessions and tabling are all awesome strategies, but what else can we do, right? Maybe those are things that are easy enough for us to put on, but maybe we can collaborate with another organization on campus that is maybe a lot different than who we are, because then we can cross our our target audiences. You know what I mean? If you're saying, let's do a barbecue together, then you invite your people, we'll invite ours, and then who knows, you might get some new members, or they might be interested in just learning about what we do and getting to know who we are. Again, kind of going back to what I was saying before, is trying some new things. So maybe it's signing up to use chalk around campus to promote your organization, or handing out flyers in a different building that you don't normally do. And so just really thinking outside the box, instead of just, it has to be an event that we plan. And again, thinking outside the box, right? Maybe you've always wanted to try something and you just haven't yet, because you weren't really sure how it would go, or maybe other people in your organization thought that's not going to work. Maybe this is the year to try that. Why not? Why not try something totally new and see if it works? And honestly, even if it recruits one person, that's a success. You don't have to have some idea or some campaign and recruit 100 people. That would be awesome. But truly, if you recruit a couple of people, that's huge. And that should be celebrated as a win, because you just never know what an impact that person or those people can make. Marketing and promotions, I will swear by that. I think that is a huge component of recruitment. And I'm going to touch a little bit more on that in this next slide. And I think too, what are some things that we might need to change to make things better? So this is a bigger kind of concept, just in general about our student organization. What are some things that we might need to adjust on how we do it to make it more accessible? Maybe that is a barrier to some students. Maybe just the lack of communication was holding some people back from joining, or maybe it just needs to be more consistent. Maybe you meet kind of whenever it works in your schedules, but maybe you need to have a more consistent meeting time so that people know, okay, on Monday nights, I'm going to meet this club. We're going to meet in this room. I know where to go. Maybe it's continuing to have some virtual options or Zoom options for people that might not physically be in the St. Cloud area. So really taking a look at your organization and what are some things that you can add or some things you can adjust so that you can build that membership base and you can continue to have those strong connections. And also, I just want to reiterate that sometimes this can be hard work, and it does take energy and effort, but it is worth it. Truly, it's worth it. It makes a difference, obviously, for our student organization so that you have that strong membership base to rely on when you are working on programs or events. And also, it matters to our students. Having that connection and that belonging is really important. It makes our campus more vibrant. It makes our students feel more a part of this university. And, each individual person on this campus can't do it alone, and each student organization can't do it alone. And so if we all work together towards that same goal, it's just going to make everything so much better. So thank you for your continued effort and energy and interest in this area so that we can continue to move forward and help show how great St. Cloud State is and everything it has to offer. Okay, so as I said, marketing promotions are a big part of this. And again, it kind of combines a lot of the things I was talking about, right? So maybe you have a really strong presence on Facebook, which is awesome. Continue to do that. But how can you maybe engage in some other ways on other social media platforms? Or maybe you've always had a Twitter account, but you don't always use it. Maybe it's time to pick that back up again. And maybe it's tapping into some of your members that feel really comfortable in those spaces so that they can help you run those platforms. And so many things. So thinking outside the box in terms of marketing and promotion, so that you're not just doing the same thing you always do, but finding new ways to bring in different ideas and strategies so that you're getting out to new and different people. And just being really consistent. And again, it's really great to promote different programs and meetings that you have, but also keep in mind that you can have just general like contact information flyers that you put around campus or on the digital signage, right? So you could have just hey, we're the Pokemon Go Club. Here's how you can get a hold of us, and you can just have those out. So it doesn't always have to be centered around a specific event or program. It can be just general information so students know that you're around, you're active, here's how they can get in touch to join. So those are some things to think about. And specifically in these different categories, right? Social media obviously is a big part of what we all do as social beings, right? But I really want to emphasize this, I don't know if this is actually a real term, this is kind of what I call it, but social media bubble, because I think a lot of times we post on our own individual Instagram or our own student organization profile. We're posting all this great information and we're saying, yes, we're sharing this to social media. But if we're only posting to those spaces and we're not using hashtags or tagging other places on campus, then it's not going to reach anybody but the people that follow your page. And so then you're really only kind of promoting internally, which obviously is really great because we want to make sure our membership knows. But how can we find a way to get outside of that bubble, right? How can we, maybe cross into some other spaces or ask, maybe be shared on other profiles so that you can gain a new audience, and you can start to build followers from other spaces on campus so that you can build and recruit new people. Consistency, what I talked about before, is extremely important on social media. You cannot just post once a year or, every couple months. Like, it's really important to keep it consistent, keep it updated so that when people go to look and learn, they can do that, or they can get in contact with you easily. It's really crucial. Another big part is engagement. How are you building that connection to people in that digital space? If you have a post, like, are you commenting? Are you responding to comments? Are you tagging people? Are you having people share your content? I think there's a lot of different strategies there to, again, kind of get your information out to more people than just who follows you and who likes your pages and whatnot. So definitely some opportunities there. And again, if you have questions about that, we can definitely help. So obviously in-person tabling on campus, kiosking, we know that that's pretty popular with our student groups, but thinking about where else on campus can you table, right? We know a lot of people table in Atwood Memorial Center or in Garvey, but what about different buildings on campus? How can you be in those spaces to reach maybe a different population that doesn't always come to Garvey, right? So it's kind of thinking in those ways. Obviously, our involvement fairs, we really appreciate our student organizations that participate because we love having you there. So making sure that you are keeping an eye out when those signups come, and making sure that you're present in those spaces, whether it's virtual or in person. And then attending events. I think it can be as simple as going to somebody else's event on campus with a bunch of your members, and then showing other people that we show up to other people's stuff, and we're part of this organization, and then you can kind of start a conversation with people that might not have even known that your organization exists, or just to show, like, we have fun together and we do lots of things, and we have a good time. And I think people will notice that and will be interested, and plus it's just fun. Right, at the end of the day, like, you're all students, you have access to all of these things as well, and so taking advantage of those, and just having a good time and enjoying your time as a student too. And of course, Huskies Connect. This is a huge resource that is promoted to all of campus, and so it's really important that you make sure your information's updated and that you are posting things about your org so that others can know about it. Events on Huskies Connect are probably the number one thing, making sure that you are posting when your meetings are as events, posting events you have, posting campaigns maybe that you're working on, posting on programs, because then students will know this is where we go. We go on Huskies Connect, we look for events. If your thing is there, it's going to get exposure. If it's not there, people might not know about it. And it's really important to continue to have that updated. Huskies Connect also powers our university events calendar. So any event that's posted on there is going to go straight to our university webpage and be promoted there as well, which is another marketing opportunity to consider. News articles are another really great tool. We have a lot of student orgs using those that kind of work as like a blog post. So it gives you the opportunity to talk, to have more text associated if you want to explain something, or if you want to recap on an event that you had. This is a really good tool. And again, it just gives more exposure. There's more content there for people to see what you have going on or what you have coming up. And again, going back to what I was saying earlier, making sure that your contact information is updated. This is really, really important. Making sure your roster has the correct officers listed, because if someone is interested in joining and they reach out to the president, but that's not the right person, that connection is going to get lost. And so even if you are transitioning people throughout the year, maybe someone has to step down, but you have a new person, make sure that you get that updated so that all those people are listed correctly. And finally, just some other opportunities on campus that maybe you don't always realize are available to you. All the TVs on campus are connected through one campus channel that you can post your information to. It's called digital signage. You can search for it on the St. Cloud State homepage, and you can just fill out a form and attach your image, and then it'll show up on all the TVs that are on campus that are on that channel. Again, it's just another really great free opportunity for you to promote events, programs. Again, it could be simply as, this is our student organization name, here's our social media, just a way to get your information out there. The e-blast is our student organization electronic newsletter that we send every 2 weeks to all of our student leaders and advisors. So you can feel free to send us information that you want included in that email. And then it gets sent out to about 800 people. So it's just another way to kind of show what we have going on and what our student orgs are working on. And also for you to know things that are coming up on campus too. So it's a really great resource. And finally, the Husky Howler, which is sent to all students by the student government. So again, making sure that you are planning ahead. Those do get sent every Monday. So you kind of want to work ahead to make sure you have that sent to the student government so they can include it. But making sure that, if you have upcoming events or programs or meetings, sending that to them so they can include it and it gets sent to students across campus. And as I was mentioning, following up with new members and with connections that you make is really important, because you don't want people to fall through the cracks as you're talking with them or starting to build those lists. I know a lot of student organizations use like Excel spreadsheets or Google Docs to collect information about members that are interested, and making sure that you then revisit those so that you can connect with them, invite them to different events, and how you can kind of follow up in those ways. So just making sure, again, that you're closing the loop and that people aren't just, it's not just a name that you collected and no one ever reaches out to them. It's really great to have, maybe you assign certain people to follow up with certain people so that they can get connected and get contacted, instead of just a name and an email on a document that you collected once. And again, just to make sure that they weren't forgotten, that you really care about what they are interested in, and that how they can show up and be part of your organization. So awesome. I think too, it's really great to reflect on your organization. What has worked well for you? What are some strategies that you've done that have really netted success for your student organization, have really done well to recruit people? Continue to do those things. That is great. Find what works and stick with that, and maybe add in some new things as you go. But it's really great to reflect on that and to talk to your membership about how they learned about your organization, so that you can find those kind of things that really work for you. Okay, so kind of switching a little bit, obviously recruiting new people is really helpful, but we also have to keep the people that we recruit. If we're just constantly recruiting new people, that's a lot of energy. It's a lot of effort, and keeping the people that have already joined or that have shown interest is going to help make it so much easier. And you can move forward in gaining more members if you can keep the people that already joined. So I have a couple pieces here related to retention. So obviously that connection piece is really important, right? It's about making that initial connection, but then maintaining that connection, right? How are you making time in your meetings or at your events to have fun and to make sure that people get to know one another, so that it's really about friendship and connection and coming together around this central idea, instead of just meeting to talk about a certain thing. How can you build those relationships and keep building on them? Feedback is really great. I know sometimes we just get caught in the moment and we forget to check in, but how are you checking in with your members to make sure that they are included and it's not just being talked to? If you're, as an officer, just standing up in front of the room and saying, here's what we're going over today, blah, 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 it's not super engaging that way. So how can we infuse that into what you do so that everyone's included and everyone feels like they have are part of it? Are you also checking in with them to see if they are getting what they want out of the org? Is there anything else that they feel is missing, or are they happy with their experience? Because that's really a great way for our leaders to get to know maybe some things that need to be improved, so that these students want to stay and that you can recruit new people in that way. Balance. So we talked a little bit about getting to know people and having fun throughout this presentation, but it is truly finding that balance. And this is something that will be super helpful for you in your student organization, but also for the rest of your life into your career after college. It is about finding that balance, because if you're on a team, you need to make sure that you can find a way to enjoy that experience, because if everybody's miserable, no one's going to want to work. No one's going to want to come into the office. And so finding ways to bring fun into your meetings. Maybe it's just a few minutes at the beginning, or maybe once a month you have a fun activity, or you actually go to do something together, instead of just meeting a business meeting all the time. Finding those fun ways to kind of fuse it into what you do. Mentorship. I really like talking about mentorship, because I think that can be a really great strategy for retention, for also bringing new members into an organization. So, finding people to pair up, so that, or maybe it's small groups or however you want to do it, but as a way to really help build those personal connections, instead of just, oh, we have a bunch of members. Excuse me, we have a bunch of members and maybe they're still new and they're trying to learn all what this organization is and what their experience can be, and finding a way to tap into senior members that have been around for a while, and help show the new people what it can be, or what they really love about it, or why they've stayed around for as long as they did. Recognition is another really great part. How are we thanking our members for what they do? How are we showing that them coming to the meetings is really important, or that their voice really does matter, and that we can't do it without them? So how can we find ways to say thank you, to show appreciation? And this does not need to be a formal award ceremony. Yes, those are great and super fun, and if you do that, that's awesome. But it can also be as simple as like sending a thank you to the planners of an event after the event, to recognize them and to show that you notice their hard work. Or maybe you are at an event and you've noticed one of your members has really stepped up and has really helped out without even being asked. How can you say thank you to that person, and just maybe pull them aside and say, I really appreciate you being here, and what you're doing is really helping at this event, and it's really great to know we can count on you. So I think it's just really finding those things that make sense for your organization and make sense for your membership, so that they know that it really matters and that it makes a difference. And another thing that I think is really important is, are we setting up an expectation that is actually the reality of our organization? Or are we saying that we're one thing and then they join and it's not really what we said it is? Because they're not going to want to stay if they were told that we do all these fun things and we are really active and blah blah blah, and then if they show up and they join and then it's not that same experience that they were told it was going to be, most likely they're not going to come back. Or they're going to be pretty frustrated that it's not, they're not doing everything that they wanted, that they thought the experience would be. So it is really great to kind of check on this every once in a while, to make sure that if we're talking in an exec board, maybe it's that reflection piece of saying, this is who our organization is, this is what we stand for, this is what we're really proud of, making sure that you actually are hitting on those things throughout the year, so that members stay because it's what you told them it was going to be and what you are talking to people about, and really driving that home. So I think it's making sure that if you have a set of values or if you have a mission, are you living into that mission all the time? Are you working toward that mission? Because if people can see that we are on a path to, work towards this one thing, we're all helping out, that's really going to hit, that's really going to keep them, coming back and keep them wanting to help because they can see where you guys are going. And so making sure that those expectations of what we set and what we're actually doing and what we're actually practicing line up so that people see that authentic mission or those driving factors of our organization. And finally, or almost finally, officer transitions. I just wanted to touch on this quickly to think about as you might be doing elections at this time of the year or at any time when you are doing elections, how are you talking about recruitment to those officers? It doesn't have to be just one person that is responsible for recruiting new people that should write this stuff down when they're transitioning to their new leadership. It's really everyone's responsibility. And how are you infusing that into that transition process so that all officers understand how their role impacts gaining new members? This can even be like the treasurer. How does the treasurer help recruit new people? Maybe the treasurer talks about finances. And if you guys collect maybe a small membership dues, how does the treasurer say, this is why we collect that money and this is what it goes towards and how it helps our organization function and why it's important that we have membership dues, right? Or helping maybe the treasurer helps educate all the officers so they understand how to talk about those finances and membership dues. So just thinking about that, building it into that process so that everybody understands what their role is in terms of recruiting new members and retaining the members that you currently have. I think a really great strategy for student organizations every so often is just, again, sharing or having your members share, especially the people that maybe have been around for a while, having people share, why do you stay? Why are you still here? What makes you keep coming back? Because you're going to hear the true heart story or heartfelt example, and or there's a reason why people keep coming back. And if you can share those and remember why you're here, it's gonna keep people, it's gonna keep those people engaged. It's gonna maybe even show to new members why it matters so much. And I think you can use some of that information then to help you recruit new people. If you go around and you share why everybody stayed, and everybody, maybe all of your members, say they met really great people and they got to know more people better in their program or in their classes because you all are in the same major, right? You can use that as testimonials to when you're talking to new people about why it's great to join this org, because you're going to meet people, you're going to get to know people better that are in your classes, which will, kind of build on itself to getting a job, whatever. And just kind of maybe give some new life to what you all do and to show why you're all passionate about what you do. So thank you so much. We really appreciate all that you do for our campus. Our student organizations are so important, and we're really grateful that you keep doing this work and put on awesome events and programs and networking and all the fun things that happen. And so we thank you so much, and we're really excited to talk with you more about recruitment and retaining members and how you can grow your organization. My name again is Sammy Bosacki. I'm with the Department of Campus Involvement. We are happy to connect with you more. Feel free to follow us on social media or check out our contact information on our website so that we can connect and learn more from each other and continue to make St. Cloud State an awesome place. Thanks so much.